Today I'm going to highlight two features in BusinessObjects Cloud that are relatively new but very powerful and interesting for you to use. My name is Iver van Zand, SAP Analytics. The features that I'm going to discuss is on the one hand the embedded decision tree, which is a predictive model that indicates what kind of attributes within your data set affects a certain metric the most. The second topic that I'm going to discuss is the predictive forecasting that is now embedded. Let us start with the decision tree. So what I do, I just open a story that I have on a data set that has a number of spare parts in there, and of course every spare part has its spare repair costs. So let me open the data set. I have a very simple report per time the repair costs, but bear with me when I say that also all the spare parts are embedded over here. If I tick the data view, it brings me to the screen that we already discussed, where I can very easily discover and have a look at my data. If I, for example, just click a metric, repair cost, and I control click, for example, asset type and or cause, you see that the system automatically creates analysis for me, which I can easily change. For example, if I want to have a heat map, and this data can, if I want, automatically be copied immediately to my story. However, today we are going to look at the decision tree predictive model, and to apply that I have to click this new button over here. It says New Machine Discovery. When I click that button, it brings me to the following screen. Over here I have the measures that I have in my model, and over here are all the dimensions that are part of my model. We are interested in what of these dimensions affects my repair cost the most. To analyze that, I tick repair cost, and over here I can include or exclude all the elements that need to be taken into account. Repair indicator doesn't make sense because I'm looking for only those that have the repair indicator yes. So I untick that. This one too, yeah. And let me now run the analysis for you, which applies a predictive decision tree model. So the discovery is running right now, and what I get when the system is ready, I get a ranked overview, as you can see over here, of the elements that affect my repair cost the most. Breakdown flag, I can take them one by one, and I'm just going to show you one example. Quite high in the list is the asset type. If I tick asset type, you see I have in my system three asset types, being meter, TMDE, and MFG system. And you can already see that MFG system is from the asset type the one that has the biggest influence, where you can see the correlative information listed automatically on my right hand. Yeah? So you can see, for example, 30% of all records have above average repair cost. Yeah? 2% of the records with above average repair cost have asset type meter, for example. So it gives quite some background information already for me, which I can use. Over here on the low hand, I can tick this little graph, and it automatically comes up with a heat map that I can bring to my story if I want, providing me the information that is of use to me for the decision tree. If I click another one, so for example, bringing this one to the story would go as follows. I just click this little graph, and I can copy it to my story by just copy it or assigning the page number that is of interest to me. Of course, I can also have a look at another one, for example, description. Let me have a look at description. And in description, here you go. Yeah, you can see, for example, it's the same analysis that Power Flow and Power Flow N2 are the ones that have a far bigger impact on repair cost than all the others that are indicated over here. It provides me with all the insights, and it's a really powerful tool that I can use in my analysis. Below there's also a button Show Unexpected Values that I can use. If I tick that, it gives me an overview of the repair cost unexpected values according to the system that you can take into account in your analysis. Yeah. For example, you see that it also automatically starts predicting some of the numbers. There is another element in the decision tree very interesting. As we've shown earlier, we can have a look at the correlations of the different attributes towards a certain metric. For example, repair cost, I can see which of the dimensions has the strongest correlation to that metric. I can also have a look within a dimension itself. Let's have a look at the equipment category. If I click that element over there, it gives me an overview of all the categories over here, and I'm going to set up classification groups, having a baseline group comparing to a group that I define. For example, I could select wave soldier machine, wave grinder, and wave generator, and I take that as a comparison group. If I now run the analysis, I get the following result. It's going to have a look at the individual values of equipment category and see what of the other metrics and attributes have the correlations towards that one. So when the analysis is done, I get the following overview. Of course, the asset type is very important, but that's something we could more or less predict 100% upfront because it's a higher level hierarchy. But very interesting, of course, is number 3, to my equipment category. Apparently, it is very important who is the manufacturer of the spare part that I've indicated. So 72% of the records with equipment category of my baseline group have an asset type of MFG system and have this manufacturer, Kurz Erza is the name, as a contributor to that repair cost indicator. So we might want to have a look at that specific manufacturer and see whether we need to change that manufacturer to one that gives a better performance. Again, very powerful and useful information being generated by BusinessObjects Cloud in just a few clicks. Let's go to the second new feature. For the second new feature, I'm going to show you another predictive model looking at predictive forecasting. To do so, I'm going to use one of the stories that I have available for you, where I can show the system working. Again, I'm opening a story with some prepared data. On my first page, you see that I made an overview of the different repair costs per month. What I can now do is click just one month. For example, I click July 2014, and you see that I now have this option over here available for me. It says forecast. If I tick that element, the system is going to forecast the repair costs for me. So I have to create a from to period. For example, I could forecast till, let's say, October. I have the option for more information, and I say I'd like to use the forecast periods. For example, I leave this as default from 2013 that it uses in its embedded calculations predicting the forecast. If I now preview, you'll see that the predictive predictive forecasting model is running. And over here you see the results of the outcome. If I narrow down a little bit, let me create this one a little bit shorter for you. We can easily see it. You see that the system comes up with 3 lines. Yeah, the forecasted period that you see over here. There's an upper bound and there is a lower bound. Yeah, that is being automatically calculated for you. I can use the existing weighting to override my values, or I can use a reference periods weighting for overwritten values if I want. Yeah, I can click these myself. Yeah. If I now OK it, the predictive forecasting is embedded in the model, and I can use it for further analysis. You see the results coming up over here in my model, and I can now further start analyzing or putting this data into a separate version which I can use in my planning and forecasting models. Thanks for your attention.